My parents gave me an ultimatum. They wouldn't come to my wedding unless I invited Lauren. Yes, that Lauren, the same one who slept with my fiancé. I remember staring at them, half expecting them to say they were joking. But they weren't. So I gave them a choice they never saw coming. Lauren and I go way back. I mean way back. We grew up in the same cramped little bedroom, with the same mismatched hand-me-down furniture and that one tiny window that barely let in any sunlight. We were two kids trying to make the best of our modest life, whispering into the dark long after bedtime about everything under the sun, school crushes, dreams that felt too big for our small town, and secrets we swore we'd take to the grave. We were each other's built-in best friend. Lauren had this energy about her, like she was always chasing a spark. One week she'd be strumming sad songs on a dusty old guitar she found at a yard sale. The next she'd be elbows deep in paint, leaving streaks of color all over the kitchen table. She was impulsive, loud, kind of chaotic in the best way. Me? I was the quieter one, the observer. I found comfort in routines and curling up with a thick novel or fiddling with little side projects that no one but me cared about. We were night and day really, but somehow we made sense together. We balanced each other out. And through all of it we were inseparable. No matter how different we were, there was this unspoken promise between us. We had each other's backs. Always. Our parents, Richard and Susan, had this mantra they drilled into us from the time we could walk: family comes first. It was their favorite line. They said it when they tucked us in, when we got in fights, when we asked questions about why other families seemed to live so differently. It was supposed to be a guiding light, a foundation. And for a long time I took it as gospel. I really believed it. Because when you're a kid, you don't question that kind of thing. You just trust that the people raising you mean what they say. That they'd never let anything or anyone come between you. But life has this annoying way of peeling back the layers. Turns out that family comes first thing only works when everyone's playing by the same rules. And some people? They bend the rules until they snap. I met Tyler during my second year of college. He was a senior with this easy charm and this quiet kind of confidence that made you feel like everything would be okay, even when it wasn't. We met at a study group, bonding over our love of classic literature and random deep dives into obscure quotes. It was nerdy and sweet, and I was hooked. For the first time in a long time I felt seen. Not just heard, but really seen. By the time he graduated, we were already planning our life together. We moved in, split the rent, adopted a rescue cat, and built routines that felt like the beginning of something real. We'd talk about marriage like it was just around the corner. White dresses, backyard ceremonies, maybe a couple of kids running around someday. It felt like we were building something solid. Something worth holding on to. Meanwhile, Lauren was still trying to figure out her own path. College was never her thing. She didn't even apply, which really rubbed our parents the wrong way. They saw it as laziness. I saw it as bravery. She knew who she was and what she wanted, even if the world didn't hand it to her on a silver platter. She bounced from job to job, barista, art store cashier, freelance gig here and there, just doing whatever she could to stay afloat. It wasn't always pretty, but she hustled. She pushed. And I respected the hell out of that. No one could say she didn't work hard. But even then, even with all her flaws, I never imagined she'd betray me like she did. Daniel and Lauren always seemed to click, and honestly, I thought that was a good thing. I mean, what kind of fiancé wouldn't be glad her sister and future husband got along? They had this shared love for all things creative: music, sketching, late-night documentaries about obscure painters. All that expressive, artsy stuff that never really sparked anything in me. I'd smile and nod when they geeked out about it together, happy they had a connection. I even remember thinking, wow, this is perfect. We're all going to be one big happy family. God, I was so painfully naive. Back then, I told myself their easy conversations and shared interests were just another sign that everything in my life was falling into place. I mean, what could be more ideal than your fiancé being tight with your sister? I saw it as a blessing. It made holidays easier. It made Sunday dinners feel warm and familiar. And I didn't have to worry about awkward silences or trying to bridge some emotional gap between them. Looking back now, I see it so differently. I was completely, heartbreakingly clueless. Blind, really. I trusted them both so fully that I never even considered they'd betray me like that. Never. The day everything unraveled started out like any other chaotic weekday. I was rushing around, prepping for this huge presentation at work, the kind of thing that could make or break a promotion. I was halfway to the office when this horrible realization hit me like a brick. I'd left my flash drive at home. It had all my slides, notes, everything. I swear, my heart just sank into my stomach. But then I remembered Lauren was staying with us that week. She'd asked if she could crash for a few days while her apartment got fumigated or something. So I called her in a mild panic and asked if she could do me a huge favor and email the files from my laptop. She sounded totally chill about it. Of course, she said. No problem at all. Like it was nothing. And I remember feeling so grateful in that moment. Relieved, even. She was helping me out. That's what sisters do, right? About 30 minutes later, I got an email from her. I clicked on it right away, expecting to see my presentation files attached. But instead of the documents, all that was there was a single email draft. No attachments. Just a weird, half-finished message. And the subject line? It read, St. Daniel. It looked like some kind of glitch, or maybe she mistyped something by accident. But still, something about it made my stomach twist. It felt off. It was like my gut already knew before my brain caught up. I hovered my mouse over the email for a few seconds, trying to convince myself it was probably just some accidental send. Maybe she meant to forward it to herself or save it for later. But I couldn't shake this weird, sinking feeling. So I opened it. And right there, my whole world cracked wide open. The email was a draft, an unsent message, but it was packed with a thread of messages between Lauren and Daniel. And these weren't casual, hey, how's it going, kind of texts. No, they were full of flirty banter, private little jokes, pet names. The kind of messages people send when they've crossed a line they can't uncross. My heart started pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. Then I saw it, the line that broke me. I can't wait to see you again tomorrow, Lauren. Last night was amazing. I just sat there staring at the screen frozen. The room around me went silent, like someone had hit mute on the whole world. My eyes kept going back to that one sentence, like reading it enough times would make it mean something else. But it didn't. That, last night? That was the same night I'd stayed late at the office, working my ass off on this presentation, thinking Daniel was curled up on the couch at home, probably watching one of his crime dramas and waiting for me to come back. I had no clue. Not the slightest suspicion. And meanwhile they were doing that. It felt like someone had taken a sledgehammer to the life I thought I was building. Just smashed it without warning. And the worst part? It was the two people I trusted most in the world. The ones I never thought would hurt me. They've been sneaking around behind my back for 6 whole months. 6 months. Do you know what it feels like to look back on half a year of your life and realize it was all a lie? That while you were busy building a future, 2 of the people closest to you were tearing it down behind your back. It messes with your head in a way I can't even put into words. Every memory becomes this twisted little puzzle you start re-examining, wondering what signs you missed, what moments weren't what they seemed. It's a kind of betrayal that sinks deep under your skin. I couldn't even tell you how I got home that day. I mean it, I barely remember the drive. I must have run on pure autopilot because my mind was spinning so fast it was like I wasn't even in my own body. Next thing I knew, I was pulling into the driveway, my heart pounding, hands shaking. And when I opened the front door, there he was, Daniel. Just sitting on the couch like it was any other ordinary day. Legs kicked up, remote in hand, completely oblivious to the storm that was about to hit. I didn't even bother easing into it. I just walked in, pulled out my phone, and tossed it onto the couch right in front of him. I looked him straight in the eyes and said, "Explain." "Now." At first, he stammered. I watched him scramble for words, tripping over half-baked excuses like he hadn't just blown up my entire world. He mumbled something about how it just kind of happened, and how they never meant for it to go that far, and how it didn't mean anything in the beginning. The more he spoke, the more I felt like I might throw up. My chest tightened. My skin went cold. It was like I was standing outside of myself, watching this horrible movie I never agreed to be in. But then he cracked. Maybe he realized there was no way out, or maybe the guilt just finally caught up to him, but he came clean. Every ugly, soul-crushing detail. He told me when it started, how they'd sneak around, how they made excuses to spend time together when I was out of town or working late. I just stood there, trying to hold myself together, as the man I thought I was going to marry painted a picture of the ultimate betrayal. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just looked at him, something inside me ice cold and unrecognizable, and said, "Pack your stuff. Now. I don't ever want to see you again." He tried to say something else, but I was already walking away. Done. Completely done. And look, what Daniel did was disgusting. No doubt about that. But the real knife in the back? That came from Lauren. My sister. The one person in the world I thought would protect me, not destroy me. I didn't wait. I drove straight to her place. I didn't call. I didn't even think it through. I just knew I needed answers, needed to look her in the eye and ask how she could do this to me. And the second she opened the door, she didn't even try to play dumb. She knew. I could see it in her face. She looked guilty, but not surprised. She didn't deny it. She didn't even hesitate. She just stood there and said, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen. But I love him." That sentence broke something inside me. I didn't scream at her. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just stood there in silence, letting her words pierce right through me. Then I turned around and walked away, tears pouring down my face before I even got back to my car. It felt like my entire life had been ripped apart in one brutal afternoon. That day, I lost both of them, Daniel and Lauren. But more than that, I lost a piece of myself. The trusting, hopeful, big-hearted version of me that believed in loyalty and love and the idea that family would always have your back. And the silence that followed? It was the loudest thing I've ever heard. After everything that went down, I hit a wall. I didn't want to talk about it anymore. Not with friends, not with extended family, not even in therapy at first. I was done rehashing the pain, done answering questions, done reliving every horrible detail over and over again. I just needed space, real space. From the people, the drama, the whispers. I told everyone as plainly as I could, I need time. I need distance. Please respect that. And for a while, I just existed. I went to work. I took long walks. I kept my phone on silent more often than not. I spent a lot of nights alone, drinking tea and watching old shows I'd seen a million times just for the comfort of something familiar. I was healing slowly on my own terms. Eventually, when I wasn't even looking for it, someone new came into my life. His name was Daniel. Yes, another Daniel. And believe me, I hesitated at first. The name alone almost made me laugh out loud when we met, like the universe had some twisted sense of humor. But this Daniel? He was nothing like the first. From the very beginning, he was different in all the right ways. Kind. Soft-spoken. He had this gentle way of being around me, never pushy, never demanding. He never asked for more than I was ready to give. He just let me be. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I didn't feel like I was walking on emotional eggshells. He made me laugh again, like, really laugh. The kind of laughter that bubbles up from your chest and makes you feel alive, even if just for a moment. And with him, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, safe. Like maybe it was okay to lower my guard just a little, to let someone in without constantly bracing for the next betrayal. We started seeing each other slowly at first. Then more steadily. Before I knew it, something real had started to grow between us. Not rushed, not forced. Just real. And when he asked me to marry him, I didn't even hesitate. I said yes with my whole heart. Because I knew this was different. This time it felt right. Planning the wedding should have been nothing but joy, late-night Pinterest scrolling, flipping through bridal magazines, giggling over cake samples, arguing over music playlists in the most ridiculous, fun ways. And for a while it was. It really was. But of course, my parents had to make it complicated. It started with one innocent-sounding question. "Have you thought about inviting Lauren?" they asked, as if it were no big deal. Like they weren't asking me to reopen a wound that hadn't fully healed. I didn't beat around the bush. I told them flat out, no. Lauren's not invited. This was my wedding. Not some family reunion. Not some feel-good movie moment where we all pretend the past didn't happen and hold hands under twinkly lights. This was a day for me and the man I love. A fresh start. I wasn't going to let old scars take center stage. But they wouldn't let it go. They kept bringing it up. Little comments here, passive-aggressive suggestions there. Until finally, they dropped the ultimatum. Either I invite Lauren, or they might not be able to attend. Just like that. Like my happiness was something they could barter with. And then, because apparently emotional blackmail wasn't enough, they had the nerve to suggest I uninvite Susan, my best friend since college. Why? Because Susan had taken my side. Because she stood by me when everything blew up. And they thought her presence was creating tension between me and the rest of the family. Can you imagine that? Telling me to kick out the one person who'd actually been loyal through it all, just to make room for the person who tore my life apart? It was like I was living in some backwards alternate universe where truth didn't matter and betrayal was just something we were supposed to gloss over for the sake of appearances. But I wasn't going to play that game anymore. Not for anyone. That was it. That was my breaking point. I'd bent over backwards for so long, trying to keep the peace, trying to be the good daughter, trying to make space for everyone else's feelings while mine sat buried in the corner. But this time, I wasn't going to do it. I told them as calmly and clearly as I could, if the only way you'll come to my wedding is by me inviting Lauren, then don't come. And if they had a problem with Susan, the one person who held me up when my world came crashing down, then maybe they were the ones who didn't belong there to begin with. They didn't take it well. Not that I expected them to. There were angry words. A lot of guilt-tripping. Phrases like, "You're tearing this family apart," and "This isn't how we raised you." But I didn't back down. Not this time. I held my ground. Because after everything I'd been through, after all the lies and betrayals and nights crying on the bathroom floor, I knew what I deserved. And it wasn't this. So they left. Angry, bitter, full of disappointment. And then silence. No calls. No texts. Nothing. And then the day finally came. My wedding day. A day that should have been all about joy, love, and new beginnings. And yes, a small part of me held out hope they'd show up anyway, even just to stand quietly in the back. But they didn't. Not even a message to say they were thinking of me. I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt. That kind of pain, the ache of realizing your own parents chose pride over presents, it sits deep. But as I stood there, hand in hand with Daniel, looking out at a room full of people who truly loved and supported me, something shifted. There was peace. A calm, steady kind of peace I hadn't felt in years. I wasn't looking around for who wasn't there. I was soaking in every second with the ones who were. Susan gave the kind of speech you only hear in movies, the kind that made everyone laugh and cry all at once. She talked about strength, about second chances, about showing up for the people who matter. It was beautiful, and I swear there wasn't a dry eye in the room. We danced. We drank. We celebrated like nothing was missing because honestly, nothing was. That day was everything I dreamed of. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. It was filled with genuine love. And I got to marry a man who looked at me like I was his entire world, surrounded by people who chose to be there. Not out of obligation, but out of love. As for my parents, I don't know if they'll ever come around. Maybe one day they'll look back and regret missing it. Or maybe they won't. Either way, I've stopped waiting for that to happen. I'm not holding my breath or putting my life on pause for people who couldn't show up when it mattered most. Because at the end of the day, I chose myself. I chose peace. I chose truth. And I'm building a life with people who lift me up, not tear me down. So no, I didn't invite Lauren. And if that's the reason Richard and Susan decided not to be part of one of the most important days of my life, well, that's on them. That was their decision. Mine was choosing me. And honestly, it's the best damn decision I've ever made.